Hi, boys and girls. This is Mr. Slates, and we are ready to start Logic of English Lesson 6. Wow, it's amazing to think that we've already made it to Lesson 6, and we're already learning so much. I'm so proud of all of you. I've heard so many of you are becoming word detectives, which is very cool. I heard of someone in Mrs. Prang's class that found a schwa. The word was other, and you hear how the O in other is making its lazy sound. It's going That is awesome. You were searching for schwas. I heard of someone in Mrs. Bim's class who found a word where the vowel is saying its name at the end of a syllable, and I think it was in their last name, which is very cool. Congratulations. All of you should continually to try to be word detectives. It's going to make you a better speller, but it's also going to make you a better writer and a better reader. If you can learn to spell words better, think about when you go to write. When you're writing in your journal or your teacher gives you an assignment where you have to write, you won't have to think so much about how that word is spelled. You can just simply write it on the paper and move on to more exciting things like adding details or adding exciting words. Wouldn't that be great? It's also going to help you with reading, because when you come to a word you don't know, you will have the tools. You'll have the phonograms, plus you'll have some of these rules, which will help you to understand how the word is working, why it's doing what it's doing, and why it sounds the way that it does. So we're going to start with a quick review of our sounds or our phonograms. And a lot of people have been asking, Mr. Sates, why do we do that every single time? As if we don't know these already. What we want you to do is almost overlearn these. And what I mean by that is immediately when you see it, your brain just knows the sound or sounds. So that when you come to a word, you don't have to think about this or these. You just get to think about, how am I going to figure out that word? How am I going to start at the beginning and stretch my way through the word to figure it out? If you know these extremely well, meaning really, really well, then that shouldn't be a problem. We don't want you to struggle with these at all. You should know these like this, like in your sleep. So do you like my little chart? I'm going to pull it over, and I'm just going to go like this, and I'm going to point. And as I point to the sound or the phonogram, I want you to just say it. Okay, you ready? Let's start with our top. 3 sounds. Okay, do you notice how these bottom 4 are in pairs? It's because they make similar sounds. When you say these right here, I want you to say the phonogram sound, but then I want you to say the words that I can't use at the end of an English word. And then these, I want you to say that I can use at the end of an English word. Okay, so you ready? So say oi that I can't use at the end of a word. Say oi that I can use at the end of a word. Say a that I can't use at the end of a word. Say a that I can use at the end of the word. This is going to help you when your teacher goes to spell words with you, because that's the clue they're going to give you. You should now know that both of these go oi. The only clue you need to now know is, which one is it? Is it the one that I can't use or the one that I can? And the same is true of these. You should know that both of these go a, but your teacher's going to give you a clue. They're going to say it's the one that you can't use or it's the one that you can use. Does that make sense? Let's finish with our vowels, because our vowels are always very important. Every single English word has to have a vowel. And now that we've talked about the lazy schwa, it's very important that we talk about the vowels, because when we go to spell words, your teacher's going to say the actual vowel sound. They're not going to say, oh, I almost said shway. Then your teacher's not going to say the lazy schwa sound, because then you would be writing use for every single word practically that you write, because there's so many schwas in our language. So you ready? A, say e, I, ya, o, u, ya, I, e. Okay, here's also letters that have multiple sounds, so you do these on your own. Ready? Nice. Okay, we have our new phonogram sounds that I want to introduce you to today. And the crazy thing is, some of you are going to say, oh, I learned that in like first grade, or oh, I learned that in like kindergarten. And I understand that. But what you're going to notice is some of these that you already knew, we're going to learn 2 more sounds for, because they actually make 3 sounds. The first one doesn't, but the other 2 phonograms make a total of 3 sounds. So let's start with our first one. I like to think of this as the pirate sound. So I go R out of the side of my mouth. Not that I do that when I say words like car and far, but to help me remember, I go R. So can you do that? R. You can do matey as well if you want. Now this is one of those, right? Everyone's going to say, oh, I know that. Ch. I knew that a long time ago, Mr. Slates. But it actually makes 3 sounds. So I want you to watch carefully. Okay? So it goes ch, and then k, and then sh. So it's ch, k, sh, ch, k, sh. If you want, pretend you're a train. Ch, k, sh. Okay? Now, let's look on the back so you can see some of these words. The first sound is the most common, right? Child. We've known that. Most of us know that CH makes a ch sound. But the second sound is also pretty common. K. It's like in school. I don't say stool. I say school. There's a K sound. This third sound is not very common. It actually comes from French. And French is sort of fancy. So it sounds sort of fancy like chef. Now, if you think, though, we live next to a major city, a huge city, whose team is now in the World Series, and that major city also starts with that sh sound. I don't say Chicago. Well, some people do, but most of us say Chicago, right? Chicago. So everyone say ch, k, sh. Nice. Okay, last one. I think you all know this as ooh, like the sound an owl makes, right? Ooh, which is true. That is its most common sound, but it actually makes 2 other sounds. So let's go over those. Think ooh, like that hit sound again, like I get hit, and oh. Ooh, oh. Ooh, oh. Can you say it? Ooh, oh. Let's look on the back. We've got food. That's your pretty common sound. This is like in took or book. This is O like in floor. There are only 3 words in the entire English language where OO goes O. Floor, door, pour. Floor, door, pour. Now, it's not the kind of pour like this, like I pour a drink. It's the kind of pour like I feel like I don't have money, pour. Okay? So floor, door, pour, if you know those 3 words, you can both read and write all the words in the English language where the OO goes O. So say ooh, oh. Nice. I'm going to stick these up here because these are our most brand new sounds. We are going to do something new today. We're going to play a game called What's Going On? It's really important that we're always reviewing these rules in English so you can understand what's going on with words and you're not just completely clueless, right? So I've got 4 rules up here. Let me explain the rules again. A, E, O, U say their name at the end of a syllable. Remember that one? That's that one. Here's my Waldo rule. Do you see how I put Waldo on the top of my rule? I tried to put him on there so you could remember it. And basically what it says is my A is going to say its third sound, its broad sound, ah, at the end of a word, after a W, or before an L. English words do not end in I, U, V, or J. And this goes all the way back to the beginning. Some of us worked on this a little bit. Some of us didn't. So let me remind you, C is going to make its sound when it's followed by E, I, or Y. Always, which is kind of nice. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to put a word here in the middle. And then I want you to pause the video as a classroom. And I want you to figure out which rule is going on in that word. You're going to figure out what's going on. Are you ready? Here's your word. Can anyone read it? Central. Central. So go ahead and pause the video. Hopefully you can see these cards. If not, your teachers can get them out. They're Rule 3, Rule 4, Rule 10, and Rule 1. Pause the video, figure out which one of these rules is helping us to figure out why this word is going central. Now I'm going to keep talking because obviously you can pause the button and you don't have to wait, but I'm going to keep going. Hopefully you all figured out that the rule that's going on in this is this rule. The C is going S when it's followed by EI or Y, right? It's going central. I don't ever say kentral, okay? So I'm going to erase that one. We have one more that I want to do to figure out what is going on. And it's actually a word in the title of our game. Going. Going. Check out that word. A-E-O-U, say their name at the end of a syllable. Is that the one? Is it our Waldo-A rule? Is that going on in this word? I-U-V-J can't be at the end of a word. Or C, when it's followed by E-I or Y, goes S. Pause the video for a second. Figure out what's going on here. Now, this is kind of actually a tricky one, isn't it? Because a lot of you probably saw that and you said, oh, that's going oi, 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 and that can't be at the end of an English word, which you are correct. O-I, excuse me, cannot be at the end of an English word. But here's where you have to be a smart reader and a smart speller, and you have to go back to all of your rules. Do you notice when I say the word going, I say go-ing, go-ing. So I'm actually separating my vowels here. I don't say going, going. I say go-ing. So which rule is going on in this word? It's this one. The O says O at the end of a syllable. Because look, remember, every syllable needs a vowel. Here's my one vowel for this syllable, go. Here's my vowel for this one, ing. In English, every syllable has to have a vowel. If I were to take the word going and I were to split it here and say goi-ing, first of all, that sounds weird. Goi-ing, goi-ing. Sounds weird, right? Also, look, no vowel, which means it can't work. You can't do that. You can't not have a vowel in a syllable of an English word. Nice job. Go ahead and get out your student workbooks. You're going to turn to page 79. 79. We're going to go back, before we introduce our newest rule today, we're going to go back and talk a little bit about that. Oh, schwa. I'm really tired today. Schwa must remind me of being tired or lazy, right? Now, one thing we didn't talk about when I did the schwa is, most of the time it goes, It's so lazy, right? It's making that first U sound, Every once in a while, though, it'll go, like the short I, which is also very, but here's what I've noticed. Most of the time it's, Very rarely, or sometimes, it'll go, So let's talk again about where the vowels will make their schwas, where in words they make their schwas. So look at the first part. See where it says stressed syllables? Do you remember how we talked about words usually have a stressed part or a not so lazy part, where my mouth is doing more work, and then a lazy part, where my mouth, it barely even has to move. If my mouth barely has to move, that's called the unstressed part or the lazy part, because it's like, look, I don't even have to move to say that, or Whereas if I say I have to open my mouth. So here's what we're going to do. See how each of these words is missing a vowel? I'm going to go ahead and say the word, and I want you to fill in the vowel that you hear. You ready for your first one? The word is batter, batter. Go ahead and write the vowel that's missing in the word batter. I'm going to go kind of fast, so you pause the video as you need, teachers. This one is kitten, kitten. What are you hearing in kitten? Which vowel is missing? This one here is began, began. Write the vowel that's missing. This one is resist, resist. Okay, if you're not done, you can go ahead and pause the video, but I'm going to help you. So right here for the word better, you should have put an E, that sound. For kitten, you should have put an I, kitten. For began, you should have put an A, began. And then for resist, you should have put an I. Now, I want you to put your pencil down and take your hand and put it under your chin again and feel which part that vowel is in that we wrote in. Is it in the stressed part, which means my mouth does more work, or the unstressed part, which means it's lazy? Ready? Better, better. Which part is the E in? Is it in the stressed part or the unstressed part? Is it in the lazy part or the not so lazy part? Better. It's in the stressed part. Look, it says stressed. Because it's not being very lazy. Watch. Better. My mouth opens more with the word part ter. Look, ter. My mouth doesn't even move. Look at this one. Kitten. Kitten. Now I'm purposely trying to open my mouth a little, but neither part is actually doing much work, is it? Kitten. But the ki part is making slightly more work for me. So it's called the stressed part or the non-lazy part. Okay, do you get it? Began, began. Okay, that A is in the stressed part or the part that is not being lazy. And then resist, resist. My mouth opens a little more with the I. Now let's go on to the schwas, okay? Remember, a schwa is any vowel, A, E, I, O, U, that will say the sound most of the time. Sometimes an I in the lazy part of the word, in the part that it doesn't take much work. So look at this part right here. You've got 4 words again, and they're missing their vowel. But this time, instead of saying a schwa sound, like we're supposed to say when we say the word, I'm going to really say to spell the vowel so you can hear which one goes in there. Because if I just said the schwa, guess what? You'd all put U's and I's in there because that's what the schwa sounds like, kind of lazy. And we don't want to spell things lazy because then everything's going to have U's in it. Everything's going to have these lazy schwa sounds in it. We want to be very precise with our spelling because that's going to help us hear the sounds. Okay? So you ready for your first one? Put the vowel in that you hear. So the word is frozen. So I'm going to say frozen. Frozen. Go ahead and put the vowel that's missing in frozen. Frozen. Okay, for this one, the word is kingdom. Kingdom. Sounds like a schwa. So I want you to say to spell kingdom. Dom. And you're going to use the A-O-U there. Kingdom. Ready for this word? You probably don't even know this word. It's adapt. Adapt. Do you hear the schwa? What makes you yawn thinking about it? So I want you to say to spell adapt. Adapt. So what are you going to put there? That's pretty easy. It's saying its name, right? Last word, 7. See the schwas kind of making that I? Could make an depends on where we are in our country. So I want you to say to spell seven. Seven. So what vowel would go in there? It's the one that goes eh. So let's go back. For frozen, you should have put an E, frozen. For kingdom, you should have put an O, kingdom. For adapt, you should have put an A, adapt. And for 7, you should put an E, seven. Now look, we're teaching you things that actually those really good spellers on those spelling bees, have you ever seen those on TV? That's what they do. When they get up to try to say a word and they try to spell it out, they are thinking like this. Because otherwise, look, they would spell most of their words with that lazy schwa sound. And we don't want to do that because then that means we're spelling the words incorrectly. Okay, so really quick review for today. Here are all of our sounds. We learned 3 new sounds: R, ch, k, sh, oo, o. Okay. We talked about these vowels, or excuse me, these rules again, especially the Waldo rule. The A will say ah at the end of a word, before an L or after a W. And we also did a little bit more with our schwas. Now we're going to talk about our newest rule in English.